The Supreme Court is hearing an incredibly controversial case in which a woman is claiming that she was discriminated against for being straight. And it looks like they're likely going to rule in her favor. So we don't know yet, they have not ruled on this case yet, but the court's decision could have wide-ranging implications moving forward on whether people from majority backgrounds have equal protections from workplace discrimination. So let's get into that. So this story or this case centers on a heterosexual woman by the name of Marlean Ames, who started working in Ohio's juvenile correction system back in 2004. She was promoted in 2014 to oversee a program that combats sexual violence in these juvenile facilities. And she allegedly received solid job ratings or reviews, that's what she's claiming, and regular salary increases. So her argument is, I was crushing it, I was a good worker, I did my job well. But then in 2019, Ames was demoted from her administrator position and her pay was actually cut by a lot, more than $40,000.
Ouch.
That hurts. Now, a few months later, she applied for a management job for the first time. But her direct supervisor told her that she should just retire at the age of 55, which I'm sure she would love to do if she was ready for retirement, but most people are not ready to retire at 55. So she was soon called to meet with an assistant director of the department and a human resources official who, according to the lawsuit, gave her an ultimatum: take a demotion or be out of a job. Ames said that she was absolutely devastated by this, but she agreed to resume her old secretarial job out of financial necessity. And then according to her lawsuit, her former protege and the woman who got the management job are gay. And so basically she's saying the people who worked under her previously got promoted, and she believes they got promoted because of their sexual orientation, because they identify as gay. So now she's claiming rights afforded to her by the Civil Rights Act of 1964 were violated, and she's accusing them of essentially conspiring to discriminate against her because she's not gay, she's straight. Ames said that she had no problems with gay people, but alleged a long-running scheme involving her direct supervisor, protege, and others to kick her out because of her sexual orientation. She said in a deposition that she believes gay people stick together.
Don't say that.
You're not helping your cause.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, but the Ohio Department of Youth Services tells a different story. So let's talk about the other side of this argument. The director of the department at the time said in a deposition for the lawsuit that Ames lost her job because her supervisors did not believe she had the skills or vision to effectively address sexual victimization in the state's juvenile facilities. He described Ames's workplace demeanor as abrasive. I need more details on that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take much for a woman in the workplace to be considered abrasive. But nonetheless, Anne said she did poorly in her interview for the management job. So now the Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments. They started hearing oral arguments in the case today, Wednesday. And this is Ames's attempt to revive her case, which was actually blocked in the lower courts by judges who argued that she didn't have enough evidence to substantiate her claims, which is important when you're trying to, make a case. And so if the court rules in her favor, it could have huge implications, but Ames insists that's not what she's looking for. She says it's all about equality in the workplace. She says, quote, "I want people to try and understand that we're trying to make this a level playing field for everyone, not just for a white woman in Ohio." The NAACP is among the groups opposing her. They urge the court to rule against Ames, saying a separate test to evaluate bias claims by majority groups is fitting because of the structural inequalities in the United States. Black people and other minorities have historically been the target of bias, the organization wrote, while reverse discrimination is rare. Okay, but discrimination is bad no matter what. Even if it's rare, in the case of reverse discrimination, it's still bad, and we should have a level playing field at work, and people should get promoted based on how they're performing in the job. The only question I have is, like, where is the evidence that she performed really well but was punished because of her sexual orientation? We haven't seen that evidence.
I guess it sounds like she would point to the raises that she got.
Right.
Was a representation that she did well.
True, but I would argue, look, I perform, well, I guess, in the role that I do at TYT now. If I got promoted in an executive position, I know I'm executive producer, but that's different from the business end.
Being an executive.
Yeah, an executive on the business end is completely different. If Cenk made the terrible mistake of promoting me to COO, I would not be crushing it, okay? I would probably crush the company. That is not something I have, any real skill in.
Yeah.
So it could be the case that she was promoted, but the role that she was promoted for, not a good fit for her. She didn't perform well, and then she gets demoted.
Yeah.
And that's what the correctional facilities are arguing here. Her employers are arguing that she didn't perform well, and as a result, she got demoted. So we need to see the evidence here.
Yeah, we can't say. It is entirely possible that she was discriminated against by a gay mafia in her company or whatever. That's possible. Why not? It could be that a couple of people were working together.
Gay mafia.
That's sort of what they stick together, and that's what she's implying. It is totally possible. It's also possible that she didn't get the job, and she, like most people, was hurt by that, feels like it was an injustice, and is trying to come up with something that makes it make sense. And she sees a couple of gay people around her. She is convinced that they stick together. So either of those could be likely. I don't even have enough information to say which is more likely. That's what the case should be about, I think, is this particular case. If the Supreme Court rules the way I think some conservatives probably want, and I really have no doubt that they will, I think they'll go way beyond the facts of this actual case. And the thing for me on this that I always wish people would understand, and I'm never gonna get my way because America is a deeply ahistoric place. We don't think about the past or whatever, is that the terms of the conversation about hiring practices and all of this, a lot of people believe that libs came in the 90s or the 80s or whatever, and they took a perfect, purely innocent, meritocratic hiring process and added a bunch of these considerations. And that's just not what happened. Now you can say that these considerations have gone too far in some cases. You can totally say that, you can have that case. But you can't imply that it was race blind and gender blind and meritocratic before. That's just not what it was.
I think you're wrong. I think in the 50s and the 60s, workplaces in America were super friendly to straight white women. And then all of a sudden, all these straight white women who were enjoying the benefits of equal workplaces where you're on an equal playing field and you get to prove yourself through merits and hard work, it got destroyed by the libs. It really did.
Probably what it is.
No, but
well, just really fast. You've been covering stories as long as you've been here on TYT of, and again, this doesn't have to be a conscious thing.
Yeah.
It's not like a hiring manager is like, there ain't no way I'm hiring a black person. That's not how it works, but how it does work is you've done the studies of eBay ads where there's a hand with a watch and the black hand, people are not willing to pay as much money.
Right.
Like that sort of stuff is just like our society is not race blind. It's not blind to any of those things, and those things have produced inequities. And some people, I think explicitly, some people without even realizing it, want to go back to a system, not that was fair, but that they believe on some level benefited them, because it did benefit them. And it could be that the previous system was wrong, and in some cases the current system is wrong. Lots of things can be wrong. Humans are faulty people.
So look, I'm gonna be super unhelpful and say there's really no solution to this, because I agree with you. There are people who have biases against certain people based on the color of their skin, based on gender, based on sexual orientation. That exists. I'm sure plenty of employers in America have that kind of disgusting bias in their hearts, and I hate it. At the same time though, I also think that it is problematic when companies, feel that pressure to diversify, and so they, in some cases, do promote people not based on merit, but because they want, to engage in tokenism, and that leads to a lot of hostility in the workplace, a lot of anger among workers, and so I don't like that either. So I don't know how you solve this. I don't know what the right solution is at all. I want to believe that we can live in a world where people are promoted based on merit and hard work. We don't live in that world. And by the way, biases also exist when it comes to, oh, I just hired my best friend's son.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna promote
from
him.
my frat.
Yeah, or that kind of stuff. So
exactly, someone of a particular, like someone who's dressed really nice, they seem wealthier. Like there's all sorts of biases, class biases, religion biases,
yes,
ableness, all sorts of things.
Like I remember in like 11th or 12th grade, there was one of the most memorable lectures we had in one of my classes. It was like a career expert who showed up to like give us advice on how to do a great job interview, right? And it was like, there was substantive stuff that was important for sure. That's why I remembered it so well. But like the dumb stuff, like you wanna do a firm handshake. I still do the firm handshake, right? If little things like that can make all the difference in whether you get hired or whether you get promoted, yeah, this system sucks, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. Anyway, but I will tell you what a 2022 survey of 1,000 hiring managers conducted by Resume Builder found. They found that 52% believe that their company practices reverse discrimination in hiring, so a majority. 1 in 6 have been asked to deprioritize hiring white men. 48% have been asked to prioritize diversity over qualifications. 53% believe their job will be in danger if they don't hire enough diverse employees. 70% believe their company has DEI initiatives for appearance's sake. So, how is the Supreme Court likely gonna weigh in on this case, this controversial case that has ramifications that go beyond the specifics of this one woman and what she's going through? Well, based on today's oral arguments, it does appear as though the Supreme Court is very sympathetic to Ames. Both conservative and liberal justices peppered the Ohio Solicitor General over the state's opposition to Ames's arguments, pushing him to eventually affirm that he too thought minorities and members of majority groups should be treated equally. Justice Brett Kavanaugh stated, quote, discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, whether you are gay or straight, is prohibited. The rules are the same whichever way it goes. So there you have it. Controversial story. Supreme Court seems to be siding with the plaintiff here, Ames. Once they make their decision, we will update you on this story.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.